Are you looking to record vocals using GarageBand on your iPhone or your iPad? Well, in this video, I'm going to take you through all of the vocal presets that are part of our audio recorder here in GarageBand iOS. Let's go. Hi, my name is Pete, and this is Studio Live Today, where I help you create, record, and release your best music. And yes, as you can see by the mic and the pop filters set up here, I'm about to record vocals for my new song. But before I jump in and do that, what I thought I would do is go through all of the vocal presets that we have, because we have a heap of different options. They all do different things. So I thought I would show you what I like to use and what some of the pros and cons of the different presets are. So let's jump in and take a look now. So we're here in GarageBand on my iPhone, and what we're going to do is add a new vocal track. So we tap on the plus button in the bottom left here and go to the audio recorder. Now we can just tap straight on the microphone or tap on voice or instrument or more sounds. What I like to do is go to more sounds because it gives us control over all of our different sounds. So here we have all of our drum presets, our keyboard presets, acoustic guitar, vocals, which is what we'll be looking at in this video, producer effects, fun, including clean for some reason, and our custom tones where we've saved in our own audio recorder preset. So for starters, we'll get to the vocals in a moment, but we're just going to go to fun and tap on clean, and this gives us our most basic of audio recorder tracks. So if you're just recording some narration, some voiceover audio, or you don't want any effects on your vocals whatsoever, the clean under fun is what you want. And all we have is this tone knob, which is just your sort of bass treble, and then squeeze, which is sort of a little bit of compression. If we come in here, it sort of kicks up the compressor a little bit if we turn that squeeze on. So it's really just a little bit of tone, a little bit of volume. But what we're going to do now is I'm actually going to record a part of this track because I'm doing a little bit of a test recording on my vocals that I'm working on for this new song. So we're going to record those now, and I'll show you what preset I like to use for recording vocals and some of the tips and tricks for how to record vocals live, and then we'll get into the actual presets and do a little bit of tweaking on that vocal track. So let's jump in and do that now. Okay, so here is that track that we've just set up, and you can see here that I'm actually monitoring the audio coming in here. You can see that little orange monitor icons there and the record icons on. If I tap on the microphone in the top left up here, here's that screen that we had before, and I can turn up the tone and change that so we can make it more trebly, we can make it more bassy, and we can add the squeeze, which will just sort of push that compressor up and give us a little bit of compression on this track. So this is what we can use, but what I tend to use for my tracking of my vocals, if we tap in the top left here and we tap on clean, is I go to my vocals and I use the punchy presence. And if we turn that on, you can hear that we've got a little bit of a boost in the bass. We've got more compressor here. We've got a little bit of ambience there, and I tend to turn on just the smallest amount of delay as well, and maybe just drop the ambience down like that. The reason that I do that is it sounds a little bit more like the vocal that I'll actually end up with. And sorry, it's probably distracting listening to me talk through this right now, but what I'm going to do is I'm now going to record my track through this. But before I do, one word of warning here. If you're choosing your presets, if we come back into here, I do like to use the lead vocals, and it is kind of the default vocal sound. But when I turn it on, what you'll hear now is that there's a lot of ambience. So there's a lot of that. And yes, you can turn that off and it would be like that. But because this has the pitch control that we have there, as soon as we turn pitch control on, you might not be able to hear it, but I can hear it. There's about a quarter of a second delay between what I'm saying and what's actually being output. So if you're recording your vocals live, I suggest making sure that pitch control is off, regardless of which preset you use. Don't go nuts with the reverb and don't go nuts with the pitch control. In fact, turn pitch control off when you're recording your vocals. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to hear yourself in time. Because the processing of that auto-tune function needs to process it, it's not going to be there. And if you want to learn about using pitch control and auto-tune in GarageBand, check out the video that I have linked up the top and down below. So we're set up and we're ready to record here in GarageBand. Now what I'm going to do is record one take of my chorus of this new song that I'm working on, and then we'll dive in and we'll take a look at all of the different vocal presets, what each one of them does and why you would use them. If you do want to see more of a detailed vocal recording tutorial, I do have one coming up when we record the real vocals, but I've also linked to one of my previous videos, which will be up the top there now and in the description as well. You can check that out. I go through microphone setup, interface setup, input gain, all of the rest of it. But for now, let's just jump in and record a take of this chorus. Time after time we are standing in line and we're making the most of each rhyme. I'm happy to see that you're waltzing with me and we're dancing in 6 and 8 time. Okay, so our vocal is recorded in there. Let's hit play and take a listen back. Time after time we are standing in line and we're making the most of each rhyme. I'm happy to see that you're waltzing with me and we're dancing in 6 and 8 time. So not too bad there. A couple of things that I noticed straight away, which are not really related to this video, but my S sound there was way too harsh. So I have a bit of a natural lisp, so I have to watch the sibilants of my S's. So when I record my final version, I'll need to keep an eye on that. And there was a bit of a wrong note back here, which we may be able to correct with a little bit of enhanced tuning, which we'll look at right now because we're going to dive in and take a look at all of our different vocal presets. We'll go through them one by one and take a look at what each one does and what they sound like on this vocal. Okay, so we're here in our chorus section, section E. Now, if you don't use song sections or you want to learn more about using song sections, I have a video all about how to use them for playback, for looping, for mixing, and that will be linked up above and down below right now. But let's just solo this vocal and hit play and take a listen. Time after time we are standing in line and we're making... Yep, there's that big S sound we were talking about. So if we want to adjust this vocal sound now, what we do is we tap on the microphone icon up in the top left here, and then what we can do is there's two ways, as I bump the microphone, there's two ways to do this. We can adjust it just here in our basic settings, so we can use nothing but these knobs to change around our vocal sound, or we could go to our mixer icon in the top left over here, and what this will do, not that one, we want the mixer, not the track view. The mixer icon will take us into our plugins and EQ. So we've got another sort of level here where we've got our compressor that we can change there, and our treble and bass, and as well as our master effects. But then we can go to another level where we tap on the plugins and EQ here, and we have our compressor, our effects, and everything here. So watch what happens when I turn off, say, the tape delay and the stereo delay on the left. These ones on the right actually get grayed out because they are directly attached to these ones. So if we turn them on, we can then adjust them here. And things like our visual EQ here, if we change this, so let's drop our bass and up our treble, when we come back into here, you can see that's changed these settings here. So everything is kind of linked together. It just depends on what level of finite changes that you want to put in here as to what section that you will use. If you want really basic sort of high level changes, you'll come in here. If you want some more detailed changes, come into the plugins and EQ, and you can set your compressor and everything else. Now let's get stuck into these vocal presets and take a listen to what the sound will sound like with all of these different changes. So if we tap in the top left here, we'll tap on punchy presence. Now let's just do these from start to finish. We'll start with lead vocals, which gives us a tone control. It gives us pitch control. So we've got our auto tune on here, a compressor, some drive, which is some overdrive, and a vocal hold. Now I use this more than probably any other preset because it has the best range of vocal sounds here. So we'll turn that down a bit and we'll turn the pitch control down. Let's just play this in basically its default and see what it sounds like. Time after time we are standing in line and we're making the most of each rhyme. I'm happy to see that you're waltzing with me and we're dancing in 6 and 8 time. So you can just dial in a little bit of the drive and the vocal hole and you start to get a really good sort of lead vocal sound. Let's just come in here and solo this and have a quick play with it in solo mode. Time after time we are standing in line and we're making the most of each rhyme. I'm happy to see that you're waltzing with me and we're dancing in 6 and 8 time. So you obviously wouldn't have the pitch control up. I was just playing around with that a little bit. But what we can do is add a little bit of pitch control, a little bit of drive in there just to sort of add a little bit of grit to the sound so it's not quite so clean. You don't really want a clean lead vocal sound. And then the vocal hall there is just adding a little bit of that sort of ambient reverb in there. We can, of course, come in here, plugins and EQ, edit and change all of these to our heart's content. I've got a heap of videos about using plugins and effects here in GarageBand, but that is our lead vocal. That's one that I use quite a lot. Let's dive into our next setting. Okay, let's jump in here again. We'll go lead vocals. This time we'll put our radio ready on. Now, this is quite similar. We don't have the vocal hall, but we've got delay and ambience on this one, and we do have our pitch control. So this one can be really good for things like rap vocals, for EDM, well, not EDM, but for dance music that has vocals over the top. Anything that needs like a really punchy, even though Punchy Presence is kind of punchy, as we saw, this one works well as well. So let's hit play on this one. Time after time we are standing in line and we're making the most of each rhyme. I'm happy to see that you're waltzing with me and we're dancing in 6 and 8 time. So a little bit more subtle than the lead vocals, but again, you've got these same sort of controls. You've got the pitch control on there, which isn't on all of our presets, and you can get a really good radio-ready sound using this preset. Okay, moving on, we'll go to our next one. Now, Punchy Presence will skip because we've already used that. Let's look at the sweet chorus. Now, this is a bit of an interesting one. Let's hit play. Time after time, we are standing in line and we're making the most of each rhyme. So a very heavily affected preset here. So we've got a chorus effect on here. We've got our compressor. We've got some ambience. We've got a tone knob. So the highlight of this one is that here in our plugins and EQ, we have this chorus effect, which we can come in here and change the level of mix. So if we didn't want as much chorus on there, I'm happy to see that you're waltzing with me and we're dancing in 6 and 8 time. So we can change around all of those effects, but I don't use sweet chorus very much. Maybe it's some background vocals. Maybe if you want a really affected vocal, sort of old school style, you might want to throw some chorus in there. But another option that we have here in GarageBand. All right, next on our list here is heavy distortion. So if we wanted distortion, we wanted something in a rock vocal, then this will be something. So this will not suit this vocal, I can't imagine anyway. So let's hit play on this soloed first. Time after time we are standing in line and we're making the most of each rhyme. I'm happy to see. So yeah, not right for the song, but you can hear what are some of the cool things you can do with this. And once again, you can come into your plugins and EQs and you can play around with this. This has actually got stomp boxes on there, which is weird because you can't really adjust those stomp boxes apart from over here. So this is what these knobs are for. It's a little bit of a weird effect. I don't use it very much. But again, if you want that sort of bullhorn effect or that distorted effect over the top of your vocals, then play around with this one that is the heavy distortion. We're on the homeward stretch here now. Let's tap heavy distortion and go to extreme stereo. Now I'm recording this using the screen recorder in mono, so this is going to not sound particularly good or relevant, but we'll just take a bit of a listen and you'll hear sort of some of the characters of the tone, but keep in mind that extreme stereo is a stereo widening type effect. So let's hit play. Time after time we are standing in line and we're making the most of each rhyme. I'm happy to see that you're waltzing with me and we're dancing in 6 and 8 time. So this is a good one if you're recording, say, some backing vocals and you only want to do one take of a backing vocal. You can kind of add some stereo width, and what it does is adds a little, this thicken knob adds a little bit of sort of stereo delay. You won't hear it much in this recording, but play around with that one. It can be handy, maybe not on a lead vocal, but on a backing vocal or something sitting under your vocal can be quite useful. Our next vocal effect here is our extra singer. So we're into kind of the novelty freak shows of our different options here. Let's just leave this on solo and have a bit of a play and listen to this one. Time after time we are standing in line and we're making the most of each rhyme. I'm happy to see that you're waltzing with me and we're dancing in 6 and 8 time. So as you can probably hear there, what we have here is exactly this. We have an extra singer. This adds a second tone to our sound, which will sing along with our original singer. So this pitch knob and the format knob, basically it's using the vocal transformer effect in here to actually add that second tone. So it gives you your original tone and then it adds a vocal transformer to give you a second tone, and they sing along together. A little bit interesting. I don't know that I've ever used it in an actual song, but it's worth playing with, and if nothing else, it's a little bit of fun. And finally, I won't spend much time on this one, is our narrator. So this one is more for your spoken word, funnily enough, because it's called narrator. Let's just hit play. Time after time we are standing in line and we're making the most of each rhyme. I'm happy to see that you're waltzing with me and we're dancing in 6 and 8 time. Funnily enough, it doesn't work too badly for this particular song because we don't want a whole lot of heavy effects and processing on the vocal of this song. But this is good if you are doing spoken word, audiobook narration, podcasting, anything like that. You can use the narrator preset and you'll get some pretty good sounds that are similar to clean, but just gives you a few additional options there to control your sound. So there you go, a quick tour through all of our different vocal presets here in GarageBand. I hope you found this useful and can use some of these tips in your next vocal recording. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can leave those down below, and I'll see you on the next video. Hey, thanks for sticking around. We've got 2 more videos linked right down below. You can also subscribe to the channel by clicking on the Studio Live Today icon in the top right corner, or head on over to studiolivetoday.com for even more audio goodness.